Hello. Thank you for joining me today as we reflect on some teaching from this last weekend. We wrapped up our series entitled Ready or Not, been dealing with the subject of change. Ready or not, change is coming. And this last week we talked about the subject of not my fault. What do we do when change comes our way, good or bad, and it's not my fault? Well, Joseph in the book of Genesis is a great case study in this. From the ages of 17 to 30, he experienced at least 5 major changes that were not his fault. They dealt with things like promotions to being thrown into a pit by his older brothers. Throughout his life, he provides a great example of what we can do when change comes our way that's not our fault. Now, in the culture in which we're living today, in the world in which we're living, this is something we're all experiencing each and every day. Hey, it's not my fault. It's not my fault. It's not my fault. And these changes are coming at us at just such a fast pace. Well, let me remind you of the 3 things that Joseph did that really set him apart and set the course for his life in the midst of all the changes that were not his fault. First of all, he followed God unconditionally. Secondly, he served others faithfully. And thirdly, he thought eternally. Follow God unconditionally, serve others faithfully, and think eternally. Those 3 things are going to help you as you deal with the changes that come your way. And one of the things that has really stuck with me is that whole concept of thinking eternally. The changes that happen to me are not always about now, and they are not always about me. And we see that in Genesis 45 when Joseph finally meets his brothers. He's now the second most powerful man in all of Egypt because God has sent him ahead, and he declares that to his brothers. He said, "It was not you who sent me to Egypt, it was God." And we scratch our heads and we say, well, how can that be? They're the ones that threw him in the pit. Potiphar's wife accused him of rape and and he was thrown in a prison. How could Joseph in that moment say this was all orchestrated by God? Well, he was thinking eternally. We need to do the same thing in this day in which we are living. And whatever the changes that are coming your way, those that are not your fault from your perspective, just remember to think eternally. God's got this. God is in control. Ready or not, change is coming. We can stay anchored to God, embracing His change within us that is causing us to become more and more like Him. And through it all, if we'll maintain that eternal perspective, in the end, we will see what God has done, and we'll see that it is all about His glory and His fame. I'm reminded of the words of Paul to the Corinthians. These light and momentary afflictions are working for us a far greater crown of glory, which will be revealed to us on that day. So keep these things in mind. I hope that encourages you today, and I trust that you'll have a blessed day and take some time next week, Lord willing, to join me for another Tuesday Takeaway.